How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to a video type that does quite well on the channel and is something that's requested quite a lot, to be honest, and that is the 5 things that I love and hate series about the cars that I have. And in this one we're going to do the Audi. So we've got the A5 S-Line Sportback edition, whatever you want to call it. We have the 5 things in this one that I don't particularly like, or I would change if I had the choice on this car. So we're going to start with some of them, and I'll let you know why, my opinions and thoughts on why I would change and get rid of them if I could, and things that I don't really understand about the car. So let's get it started. The first thing, and that is a problem in quite a lot of modern cars, is piano black finishes. As you can see, they just build so much dust and dirt and fingerprints, and they're an absolute nightmare to keep clean. Like, they just get little marks like this that you're rubbing away for ages to try and get. You get it valeted or whatever, get your car clean, and then the next thing you know, the car's dirty again. In a lot of modern cars have it all over, so it's not just this center console, you've also got it here. So if you miss the door handle and you accidentally swipe up here, or you swipe behind, it's all piano black in there. It's piano black on the dash, so if you're changing the air vents, you might do something up there. It's piano black behind the screen here. Obviously on the passenger's door, you've also got more piano black stuff. And yeah, it is an absolute nightmare. It looks nice when it's clean, but it's not clean for very long. And when it's not clean for very long, it is a bit of a nightmare. I know the lighting's not really picking it up very much because of how sunny it is, but it gets covered in fingerprints, covered in dust, and covered in little marks that you're always looking at and thinking, bloody hell, how is that so dirty already? The second thing I don't understand about this car, and I would change if it was possible, I know it probably is with the addition of a higher spec or whatever, but it's just the missing buttons on the car. So like here you've got like different little gaps where, why? Like, I don't get it. You obviously got this here. I don't mind if that was just nothing there, but I don't particularly like the USB port there. I'd never put anything in there. Everything's wireless in the car, so why would you put something in? Unless you were charging your friend's phone, which I never am. It's a bit pointless. And a 12-volt socket, who uses 12-volt sockets anymore and not just a USB? But yeah, the main thing is just these buttons where they don't do anything. It's just there. I know they can't take it away because it would look weird, but they could definitely spread this one out better. They could move everything along one, so that one could go to there, this one could go to there, there'd be a gap there, and that one would be there still. It would just make it look a bit neater and a bit more symmetrical than having a weird gap in the middle and 2 weird gaps there. I know on different models of the car, so like you might get an RS version or an S version, one of these might be an exhaust button. I don't know if Audis do lift or anything on the front nose, but you could have a lift, exhaust, and then, I don't know, RS mode, but that usually goes on the steering wheel. So I'd imagine a higher spec car will have things here, but when it's not a higher spec car, it can't be too much trouble to just move these so that there's a gap between each one, and not just a 2 there and then a 1 there and then these missing ones up here. But yeah, there's that as well. Coming back to keeping something clean and fingerprints and whatever, and this is something that annoyed us like mad in the Range Rover, and that is this display when it's black or in certain lights. If a light hits it at a certain angle or whatever, it gets a glare and you can see everyone's fingerprints across the front of it. You're wiping it down with microfiber brushes, sponges and cloths, and as you can see, it's just got loads of, I don't know if you can't see in the camera, just loads of little bits of dust along it, and you'll wipe and wipe and wipe and it'll be back again. It's just like the piano black stuff. It's such a good screen. It's so responsive, and it's so, well, making it look like it's not there, but it is such a responsive screen that you touch it, it leaves a mark, it leaves a bit of dust. It gathers dust by just existing there and not cleaning it regularly enough, and that is something else that's a bit annoying about the car. Obviously, for all the good that screen brings, the old Audi screens, when you would have the dial down here to control everything up there, you were never touching that screen, so you would just, the only thing you would do literally is wipe the dust off it and it was fine. But because this one's so big, it gathers a lot of dust. It obviously needs to be touched because there is no physical buttons down here to deal with that screen. The ones on the steering wheel do everything behind the wheel, everything on this needs a touch response to it. So it does get grubby, it does get fingerprints, and it does get marks on it, and it does need a good clean every week, I'd say now. So yeah, that is the third thing in this car that does get on my nerves a bit, I won't lie. Number 4 in the car is definitely becoming a common thing, and that is stalks behind the wheel. I mean, every car you get into, they just look the same, and they just look so cheap, and they are just thick bits of plastic thrown on a wheel. It doesn't matter what car it is, unless it's a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. You get into them, and the stalks are just crap. The cheap bits of plastic. There's no nice design about them. There's nothing that makes them stand out and think, you know what, they're actually all right and they suit the car. They are just clumps of plastic hanging off something. So yeah, it's a petty one to have, and it is a bit of a pointless one to add to it. But yeah, I don't like them. They don't look good, and I know they can't be metal, because if you crash and you slam your knee off some metal, it's never going to end in a good thing. But yeah, stalks on steering wheels, the less the better for me, and the Audi unfortunately has 3 pretty obvious protruding ones there. So that is the 4th thing about this car that I don't particularly like, but it is so minimal. Last but not least, staying at the wheel, it is that the S-Line doesn't come as standard in a Sportback S-Line. So you're telling everything it's a sport. It doesn't have a flat bottom steering wheel. There's nothing wrong with the wheel. It is nice to drive with. I like this gap here. Obviously, bloody piano black in the middle. So as soon as you put your hand in there and you're driving or you're holding it or whatever, fingerprints. The wheel itself isn't bad, but I just think wheels with flat bottoms, cut that off. It looks so much better, and it suits the car so much more. If you made the wheel slightly smaller, it is quite big. It's not that much smaller than the Range Rover's wheel, to be honest. It's just a different layout for the Range Rover. But I think the wheel could be smaller, give it that more sporty, dynamic, agile feel to it, and give it a flat bottom so it looks sportier. There's nothing wrong with the design. I like the perforated leather mixed with the smooth leather. The gaps are all nicely sized, good holding points. But yeah, flat bottom the steering wheel and make it a little bit smaller. And I honestly think the cockpit, other than this fucking stalks, yeah, the cockpit would be such a good place for the Audi. And I think people understand that when they get RS models or they get an R8 or whatever, the general driver's cockpit is fantastic. But in this one, yeah, I really do like the idea of a flat bottom steering wheel. My best mate's got a old A5. He has a flat bottom steering wheel. It's just much nicer to look at, and it's much nicer to drive with as well. So that is the 5th thing about this car that I don't like. But that is saying something. Everything in this car that does my head in, or annoys us or aggravates us or whatever, or I would change, it's all interior, and that speaks levels about the outside of an A5 and the exterior of it. There is nothing on the exterior that I would go about changing unless I change the car to a different colour. I think the rims are fine. I think the chrome aspects are fine. The white is fine. There is nothing else I would do. It's got all the privacy glass. It's got everything. I wouldn't change anything about the outside of the vehicle. So yeah, it is literally just the inside I would change if I could, and they're not really things you can't change. I know you could spec something different, and you could spec something different to this brushed aluminium as well if you wanted to, but the piano black can be changed. Obviously the steering wheel can be changed. These buttons can be changed if you want to spec them. Obviously I can't change that now because I can't add to it. So everything can actually be changed. The screen can't be, but that's just something you've got to deal with. And I suppose if I'm being really nitpicky and adding one more thing, the vents, obviously you have the one there, the one on the side, 2 in the middle. This looks like it should be a vent, and it has all the grooves in to be a vent, but it's not. It is actually blocked out, and there is no way of opening that vent. This middle vent, it completely blasts the steering wheel, the passenger there, but it doesn't. It's that far one. If that was a vent all the way along, it would honestly be unbelievable, especially on a hot day or cold winter. It would work so well because the whole cabin would get that aerated feel to it, but it doesn't. So that's one more thing I would add if possible, but it really doesn't bother us that much. So yeah, cheers for watching this one. That is the 5 things about the A5 Sportback S-Line edition that I would change if I could, but to be honest, they don't bug us all that much, and I do deal with them. So yeah, if you want to see another video on the 5 things about this car that I love, I'll definitely get that out to you, and I will make sure I get that uploaded as soon as I can. But yeah, if you like the video, drop a comment, drop a like below, subscribe, and cheers for watching, guys. Thank you.